Good evening, everybody. Welcome to FMA discussion. Sorry for the delayed technical issues, unfortunately, that we just can't control sometimes. However, though, the long-awaited part 2 episode with GMs R&R, Romeo and GM Ray Floro. So I'm really excited about this. I got a couple of videos I'm going to show, of them and what they believe in their methodology and what have you. So again, apologies for the late start, but we're going to be kicking it off right now. Just as far as the intro is concerned, if you have not seen their first episode, I highly recommend it. It's episode 283. I would really encourage you to watch that if you have not watched it already. This one will make more sense if you do watch that one. In addition, if you haven't, check out Alberic's coverage too, that he did interviews with GM Romeo. I thought they were well done, and actually was really helpful and instrumental as far as me pulling out some content and questions and what have you. So Alberic did really well on those two. As a matter of fact, he just put it out today. So again, we're going to just cover. We're going to look at KI kind of. Today, we're going to look at the past when these gentlemen were first exposed to it, the changes that have kind of happened and occurred, as far as whether you want to call it evolution or adding or what have you. And we're going to get to that. And I think you're going to see by conclusion, if you watch part 1 and part 2, is that some people reference that there's only 2 sanctions that teach the pure KI. To me, that's just ridiculous. I think the KI theme episodes have, proven that. And these 2 gentlemen, what they have to offer in KI, to me, is, let's just say less is more. And so without further ado, I'm going to be bringing both these gentlemen up. And if you have not already, tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button. And here we go. And let's just get. All right. So, he was here. Let's get him back in there. Where'd he go? There we go.
I'm here. Oh, there you go.
Finally. So, hey, hey, you know what? Perseverance won. You know what I mean? We kept trying and didn't throw the towel in. So, good on us. So, I want to thank both of you for coming on again. Your guys' first episode killed it. I think there's close to 900 views, almost 40 likes. People really enjoyed what you guys had to say. So I'm really looking forward to this part 2 with you gentlemen. And but I do have to get, there are a couple questions from viewers I didn't get to last time because I just got so immersed in what you guys were saying, and I kind of lost track of those questions. So before I do that again and repeat that, so these are 2 questions. One is from Fred, and Fred, this is to actually all these questions are to both of you. So Fred wants to know, do either of you have plans of coming to the States as far as seminars? This is from Fred.
Well, yeah, I've got a small group that's with G Choi, Michael Ritz, and Jay Fujimoto. They're planning to get me there, but the problem with living in Australia, the airfares are really expensive. So by the time I get there and by the time we do the seminars, the profit margin is eaten away by hotel bills and airfares. If we can get the airfares down, well, that's great. Yep, I would go, but the airfares are just too much.
Where's Michael? I've heard that name, and I think I'm friends with him on Facebook. Where's Michael live?
Michael, I met him in where did I meet him? LA.
He's California. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, GM Romy? How about you? Any plans to come to America?
No more.
No, I love that. Absolutely not.
No.
You'll come to Australia, though. You'll come to Australia.
I can't say I blame you. This is a weird time over here.
I am 76 years old.
No, I don't blame you, man. Days of travel. I'd be like, nope. No,
I'm not going to take any more chances.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I told him I would ask the question. So
yeah, thank you so much. But that's it.
No, fair enough. Okay, this is from Glenn, and he's got 2 questions here. So his first question is, do students I guess he's referencing a video they saw, and I forget the name of it, but I think I'm sure you guys are familiar with it, seen it. It's some of the older videos of GM Romy, I'm sorry, with GM Yuli, Tatang, and Tony Diego. And his question is, when do students ever learn disarming with the feet? First question. Second question, did GM Ilustrisimo teach fighting multiple opponents? So whoever wants to go first.
Do I disarm my feet? I know how to do it. I mean, I was taught that, but come on, would you do something? I'm less is more, okay? That's one of those things that.
So we'll defer to less is more. Okay.
Yeah. But look, in a desperate situation, it could work, but you got to be desperate. So, no, I don't teach it unless I'm really asked to. And even if I'm asked to, I go, do you really want to? Okay, so that. Yeah, so no. What was the multiple attacks? I do incorporate that in my seminars. Absolutely. And this is where I was going to talk to you about the bug suck. In terms of multiple attacks, group warfare, like what happens if there's 5 of us versus 10, or where there's 20 of us versus 50. If you stand side by side formation and you start swinging like this, you're going to kill the guy beside you before you engage the person. But if you go up and down, you could stand shoulder to shoulder with your mates and actually do a lot of like the riot, the riot, multiple battle scenes, etc. And I do that a lot with the seminars. I get the participants to stand in formation. I split them in half and the other half attacks them. And you find that the up and down is perfect because not only is it effective in engaging, you can actually turn to the side and hit the person there, and so I've got the front line, then I've got a second row behind them, and if you go up and down, it's all group formation, like Romans type of thing. But
yeah, okay.
Now in terms of one versus multiples, it's perfect. Our Ilustrisimo is perfect because when we strike, our sticks don't go behind us. Like the stick is always in the front. You never see us doing this, or doing that, or whatever. So if you're striking and everything's in the front, you can stand with it back to the wall. So, so if you're there, you've got your back to the wall and you can engage. And in fact, one of the training methods that Master Romy taught me, Master Tatang, GM Tatang taught me is when you train underneath a door sill. So you open the door and you're underneath the door sill, and this type of striking is perfect. So hence, if you get attacked by 5 guys, like you open the door and you're fighting in here, nobody can flank you, nobody can go behind you. And if you're hitting this way and there's 2 of you versus multiples, you can stand back to back. And I've got a 180-degree range, and my mate who's behind me has got 180-degree range. So we've got 360-degree coverage. But if I start striking like this, I'm going to kill the guy beside me. I'm going to kill the guy behind me before I can engage. So in many ways, this sort of striking with the Ilustrisimo method is perfect because I can stand with my back to the wall. I can stand side by side with, fellow friends. I can stand back to back. So I don't have to change the way I fight to engage multiple people.
Okay. GM Romy, so Glenn's questions.
Yes, there's actually a set of techniques called the Combate General, which actually means combat principles in Spanish, because general does not mean general in Spanish. It means principles. So combat principles are about 15 or so types of sword handling and sword movement, details, which were used by lines of soldiers against another line of soldiers, which means, Raymond is correct, you cannot be hitting to your side because you'll kill the
You take
guys
a
on
guy
your side.
out.
Okay? You don't move forward too much because you leave a blank. And you don't go backwards, as in retirada, because you leave an empty space, a gap in the line. So these are very well discussed in Ilustrisimo, and they belong to combat general, which can also be used for personal one-on-one combat. Okay, and then there is this technique attributed by Tatang to Melesio. There are two main techniques. One is called the retirada de reloj. The retirada de reloj plants one foot in the ground. The story is Melesio drove a nail through his foot into the hardwood floor of his house, pulled out the nail, allowed the wound to heal, and then when he practiced, he dropped the nail into his foot into the hole in the floor. Okay, this means putting the left foot flat on the ground, and in matches he would actually dig a hole and put his foot in that hole, his left foot in that hole. He rotates around that left foot in the hole with his right, and this is to be able to take care of multiple opponents coming at him from
Pivoting just
the
around the left. Okay.
retirada. Uh, it is called walong apak or 8 steps.
The eight. Okay. Okay. Yep.
Okay. This is quite unusual in that even the Japanese have a system called happogiri, 8 cuts, and they also move around in a circle. Okay, so it seems to me that practical combat experience uh, evolved this kind of technique.
Mm.
And another one, when faced with multiple opponents and without a wall to stand against, then Melesio, according to Tatang, would lie flat on the ground and fight with his feet, trying to disarm his opponent and cutting at the legs of his opponents above his head while lying on the ground.
Okay.
Mhm. And apparently, there are real life stories of Melesio doing this, so that it's very credible. We simulated this, Tony and I and Yuli, and it works. Even when you're really intending to hit your partner, your friend. Okay, we took great joy in hitting our friends
I
before.
need to try this. I'm going to try this.
Yeah, okay, but you're circling around on your back, whirling around, flat on your back, and you're
Yeah, like a
using your
top,
legs
right?
as drivers.
Oh,
Yes,
Bruce Lee did it with the nunchucks in Fist of Fury, eh?
yes.
Jeez. I tell you, Maestro Ray,
Anyway,
when we see
uh,
each other, you're gonna be on the ground.
We're gonna have fun.
uh,
Oh, there you go.
um,
Luke Beston. Look, here we
we're
go.
very
I'm
good
mentioning his
during
name.
that
Luke
time.
Beston can do this because he does BJJ. He spends most of his time on his back.
See?
So yes, there are specific techniques
Okay.
utilized in the Ilustrisimo system for just these types of
For that.
encounters.
Okay. All right, Glenn.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, Glenn, thank you both for answering. Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Now we're gonna get into the meat. So, all right. So in the first episode, we covered some stuff, as far as like what made him special and kind of the influences, but we didn't go deep because I had so much stuff I wanted to have you guys share, with the audience and all that. So I thought, this episode we can go a little deeper into some of the themes and that. And so, and you touched upon this with GM Romeo with Elric. Again, if those folks, if you haven't seen, please watch, Elric's interviews with GM Romeo. I thought they were well done. He's got 2 parts. It's on his YouTube channel. Albert Jundas, easy to find. Um, so so what do you think? And both of this, all these questions, will be for both of you. So what do you think, like his major influences were, like that made him like who he was, and that's special.
Well, apparently his family was already a major influence on him. There were several brothers, and they all knew how to fight because they were only one generation away from when the people of the island of Bantayan had to fight off several raids annually, regularly against the Moro pirates.
Mm,
And he had an uncle, a great uncle actually, called Agapito Ilustrisimo, who initially worked with the Spaniards and then became a rebel and took off and hid in the mountains of Luzon, in Banahaw, in Laguna province. And then he had uncles who had their own specialties in terms of strength, agility, and other capabilities. So martial arts, if you can call it that as a general term, was in their family.
mm,
It seems to me that they had reserved a special niche in the culture of Bantayan, so that they are very well known. Uh, and they have relatives, Villabrille, and there was this latest one, nephew of Tatang, Lot Villabrille. Uh, but no Illustrissimos have come up of any note. So there you have it. You have your ancestry, you have your forebears, and you have a
mm,
culture that recognizes great men. And great men meant you could kill or you have killed. This was the
mm.
measure of manhood. In much like your cowboy days, the measure of
The
manhood was
Wild Wild
someone,
West. Okay, okay,
yeah,
yeah.
something like that.
Okay.
And the next one was when he thought he wanted to go to America.
Hmm.
They saw ships, steel ships, passing by the island, and when he asked, they said, "Where is that boat going?" "It's going to America." So he said, "I will go to America. This must be great men who ride these boats." So he took off in a banca, paddled about, out to sea, and found himself in Cebu. And then he smuggled himself into a steel boat, steel ship, and found himself in Zamboanga. And then he was noticed by a major personage, uh, and he was brought to Holo and adopted as a son. Uh,
Mm.
while in Holo, he was trained by the Sultan's bodyguard,
Man,
but he
that
was not an
bodyguard had to be
Sultan.
amazing.
Yes, and we can still trace the family lines and the connections.
You
So
can.
we know these are true. Yes.
Wow, it's funny because I was talking to Bert one time, and I was mentioning, I'm like, I'm talking to him, I say, hey, that bodyguard of that Sultan had to be incredible. Like, whatever he instilled in GM Illustrissimo, I mean, that guy had to be off the charts. So I guess, again, these are for both of you guys. So what do you think? Like, did he get a lot of the moral fighting arts slash silat, in your opinion?
Uh, there is too much said about the excellence of the Moro fighting arts,
Mm,
but there is not really that much difference in efficiencies and techniques.
mm,
Uh-huh. Uh, and not even with the quality of blades used. I'd say they stood at par with each other. But it is the willingness of the Moro to die with his
to die,
victim if
yeah.
necessary, because his goal is to dispatch his victim. If he survives, then he has another chance at another victim. But if he needs to die with this victim, then die he must. It's an easier path to his goal.
Fascinating. So I guess what you're saying is like they're obviously the willingness to die. You know, I don't care if you're
Yes.
pointing a gun at me. I'm flying through the air and I'm going to try to take your head off. You know,
Yeah.
regardless of
Yep.
what caliber you got in front of me. So you're saying like the Spanish methodology and all that just as good and you know for the times and all that, but it was more the fighting spirit of the Moros. Am I correct?
Yes, it is the fighting spirit. Okay.
Okay.
The willingness to die for a principle.
Hmm.
I mean, you see that today with terrorism. You can put as much
Actually, that's a
security
good
on
point.
airports.
They're
You
like,
can put
I'll
as
blow
much
myself
security
up.
on
I don't care.
airplanes, but if someone's willing to die, you know, it's very
Yeah.
hard. It just takes the one suicide bomber or the one
That's what I
suicide
mean. You're right.
fighter.
It's a good analogy.
It's
Well,
really hard to defend.
even in protection details, that's the one person you're always wary of. The guy who has been paid enough so that he really has to carry out his job.
Mm.
Okay, and the money is with his family anyway already.
So he doesn't
So
care.
it's a suicide mission, whether he is Muslim or not. Uh, this is always the assassin that you are wary of. He's not the guy who does his job and then gets paid and then he's waiting for an assassin to kill him in turn, etc., etc. No, it's simply this guy who has been paid enough, the money has been turned over to his family, and he needs to get the job done so that the balance of 50% goes to his family also.
Right. Wow. So okay, if I'm okay, so the other influence, which maybe you might more, so I don't want to jump ahead certainly. This fellow Pedro Cortez, it sounds like he had a substantial impact on Ilustrisimo's formable years. Is that accurate?
Yes, because Pedro Cortez brought together uh, aspects of fighting that Tatang had sought. What was it? He had a very efficient swordsmanship. He had gotten into the mind of the Moro because most of the bandits were Moros
That they
that they
were
were
tapping
running after.
attention. Okay.
Okay. And he also had quote unquote magic,
Mm.
the command of the mind to go into the esoteric and create what would now be called impossible miracles, but which were commonplace during their time.
Hmm.
And Pedro Cortes was able to exert this much influence on Tatang because Tatang had been in enough trouble to understand that he could get hit from behind even. And unless he had a what you call this, an armadura, an armor of energy, he could get wounded and he could die. So that was the main attraction to Cortez of Tatang. Physical skill, they were probably equal because Cortez would have been older than Tatang, and Tatang would still have been quite strong and fast and equally skilled. So that may not have been a major factor of influence, unlike that of industry of Melesio, who was a major factor of influence in Tatang. But
Okay.
then, of course, both Melesio and Cortez were exceptional adepts of the mind, of the esoteric, of the supernatural.
Mm.
Uh, and that's why he admired both of these men. And that is why Melesio was able to bring so much influence into his style, and also why his stories of the magic of Cortez were retold with great enthusiasm.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
Oh, interesting. Wow. GM Ray, so you heard same stories about this Pedro Cortez fella?
No, again, when I was a Tata, I wasn't interested in the history.
Yeah, I
I was
just
just
love it.
interested on the technique.
No, you were,
How
yeah, I love the
can I
history,
protect
so I
myself?
just, yeah.
However,
Mhm.
when I first met the masters, Master Romeo, Tanya, they talked about his exploits. They talked about his, when he was riding a jeepney and there were hold-uppers mugging him, etc. But what the thing with Grandmaster Tatang is that all the stories were real because there were witnesses there, there was arrest records and things like that. I mean, how many grandmasters do you know? They all fought death matches. For people who fought death matches, there's a lot of grandmasters left. You know what I'm saying? But
Mm,
with Tatang, you knew the stories were true, and then you see
yeah,
him
that guy,
move.
man.
You,
Tell you,
you see him move, you see the efficiency, and you're thinking, you know what he does will work. None of this swirling thing, but you think that would work in a real fight. And the thing is, from the moment I met him and to his death, and you see it on all videos, he always moves the same way. He doesn't, the trademark here, the trademark, the
mm,
shuffling of the feet with doble carrera. So it doesn't matter who fed to him, his techniques are always consistent. His techniques are always efficient, and that's what enamored me to him. Number one, the stories, which could have been proven, and there's documentation, there's witnesses. And number two, you kind of look at the way he moves, and you're thinking, you know what? Yeah, that would work.
yeah, that guy, man.
So,
I saw that guy. I'd
yeah.
cross
So
the
in terms of
street.
the pure history, well, that's why I've got Master. That's why I've got Master Ronnie there, so I could just ask him anytime.
Yeah, I'd be crossing the street. Okay, hey, it's all yours.
There's actually a third person, his partner in the enforcement uh, work that he did in Manila, name of Felicissimo Dizon, because Dizon,
Okay, all right. Oh, the on the docks, right? The docks.
no, not the docks, in Binondo, in the commercial districts
Oh,
of
okay.
Chinatown. Uh, the docks were an aftermath of the war scenario. People confused docks as being the tough place before the war. No, the docks were quite decent during the pre-war period. It was only after the war, with a lot of immigrants into Manila, where the docks, because they rode in boats to come to Manila and settled around the piers of Manila, where a lot of war of stories about tough guys came up. No, the docks became tough places only after the war.
After, okay, all right.
But the places where uh, Tatang and his partner Dizon carried out their protection work. I think
Their
you call it
protection,
protection
right?
work, but it was really protection work. You go to a businessman, he's got a store, typically a Chinese, and you say, I'll make sure nobody comes in and tries to steal from you or tries to mulct you or whatever. And he says, I already have someone. Oh yes, I'll take care of him and then you pay me.
You don't take. Oh, yeah, you don't understand. He's unemployed now. You understand?
Yes, he was self-employed and he created his own.
Jeez. Oh my God. Wow. That's
The old
So
westerns.
this is the kind of toughness that is unimaginable today,
oh my God,
where
yeah.
people are on the screen all the time.
Mm,
This was a hands-on, walking, feet on the street type of business, okay, where they could no longer carry bolos, swords. In Manila, they at least carried a balisong in their waists
okay.
and a stick, because a stick was quite common.
Jeez.
A walking stick made of this kind of rattan,
Okay.
close knotted, uh very solid, has a ring to it, will actually crush your skull if you get hit by it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so there is no need to carry a bolo,
Right. You just
and this is what they carried as they walked in Manila.
that's
Mm.
wow. What a quick question from Glenn before we what was GM Ilustrisimo's opinion of guns? Did he have one?
No,
And
no, but he knew how to handle one.
okay.
He had encounters with people who carried guns. Mhm. And that's why he had an oración. An oración is a prayer.
Yes.
And he said, lead become mud.
Okay. So if they had a gun, hopefully they
Yeah.
obviously didn't get it out fast enough. So all right. So what um in short, before I get into the depth and all that, what I see from both of you, just when I started doing this KI thing, I really got exposed to a bunch of stuff. What was myth, and just seeking out truth here. Far as that's one of the things of FMA discussion. To bring out truth in a respectful manner. And there's a lot. I'm going to be honest. There's just a lot of untruthful things regarding KI that's come apparent. And I'm sorry, but somebody's got to, politely expose it, for good intentions. And that's what I'm trying to do here. And what I'm getting at is when I look at both of you, I not to overuse the phrase, but less is more. And I see the same thing in Yuli, where he stresses, the Agano, doble carrera footwork. My understanding of doble carrera was kind of as you're veering off to the right, but I keep hearing now referenced and footwork and all that. And so is that, so where, but you guys seem to be different. That you two and Yuli, far as the less is more, and it almost appears like what you guys adhere to is what was originally shown and taught. Am I on
Look, with
point
with
here?
Master Yuli, there's two sides to him. If you can get him to talk about pure
Oh,
Illustrissimo,
which I've been doing with him. Yeah.
yeah, it's gems. He know.
Oh, it's
He's one
brilliant.
of
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah.
he's one of the originals, right? Like he knows what he's doing. But if he just pure Illustrissimo, he's
Yeah,
got
I
a
keep
lot
him
of
in
gems.
that lane, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
but so GM Romy, is that like a kind of accurate descriptive parody on my part there? What I just described, far as like you guys seem like you guys adhered more to what was originally shown.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but the thing is, the way Illustrissimo evolved. See, there's when we were learning it, there was hardly any interest in Illustrissimo. Nobody knew the master, the Grand Master. But as after Mike Wiley's book and all that, and again with Ray Garland promoting Tatang, he got to be known. And then if you look at Lynetta, there's lots of visitors there, which is fantastic. But you have to change the way it's taught to cater to teaching it en masse. See, on any given day, I only have, say, 6 or 10 students at a time, and I only teach privately, one-on-one, maybe 2, 3 is the most. It's very hard to teach it en masse.
When you get like
Any
20
more than
people,
6
for instance, or
people,
something.
you lose the essence of it. And to tell you the truth, it's very rare for me to teach pure Illustrissimo in seminars. I teach other things. I actually teach lamb batten method, the dive and drive from Jerry Wetzel for unarmed knife. Those are the money winners. But pure Illustrissimo in a seminar en masse environment, I find it very hard to teach. I tried several times to set up a school, but I never got the quality or the results I wanted in my students. Hence, it's easier for me just to teach one-on-one in my garage or small groups.
What's funny though? I totally agree with you as far as what you guys try and employ, as far as concepts, measure, etc., find the gaps. However, though, previous to doing all these interviews and all that, I wouldn't have known that. You know what I mean? Like this is
See, now you understand. See, there's knowing it and there's understanding it. See, now
Yeah.
you understand it. See?
No, that's what I mean. Like, I'm being like, yeah, there's no, how would you teach this in a huge group format?
And you can't, because a lot of the way we teach it, a lot of it is how I feed my students. The way I feed my students, I can get the reaction I want out of them. Whereas if you're doing seminars, you get two people who are complete beginners. They're kind of wide. No, they're not even teaching properly. You know, it's like learning how to hold focus mitts. You got to learn how to hold focus mitts properly. You got to learn how to feed properly. And just swiping away, you
Famously,
won't get the reaction you want from the students. A lot of the teaching is to how I feed you. You see, that's a secret in Ilustrisimo. It's how I feed you for you to get that motion.
to elicit,
But if
to
I just hack
respond.
away, you're just gonna block wide. You're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get the essence.
So GM Romy. So how about your thoughts?
Before anybody met Tatang in the group, they all had been in other martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they were already masters of the martial arts that they had studied.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, they interpreted Tatang's system through the lens of the previous martial art that they knew.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And therefore, they had interpretations and no longer actual apprehensions of the subject matter.
It's true.
Yes.
It's true. Because if you look at sorry, you continue, Master.
And what happens is there's a favorite movement in the previous martial art, and it gets interpreted into the arnis of Tatang, into the eskrima of Tatang.
There
And
you go.
here is something I've always told people that came to me. Because people come to me and I ask them, what's your previous martial art? I'm in this, I'm in that. And at least half of them are in bare-handed martial arts. And in bare-handed martial arts, you get your power from the ground. You root yourself and you deliver power from your feet, through your legs, through your thighs, into your core, and into your fist. Okay? Well, if you have a tool, a sharp tool that can both penetrate and cut, you don't need to be rooted. You don't need to be like a Japanese tatami cutter.
All that,
Okay?
right. Okay.
Yes, all of that power and all of that strength to cut through maybe 6 or 7 tatami mats. You're cutting through one guy.
Yeah.
A flip of the wrist, you do it.
Right.
The obvious example is if you look at Master Tupa, his Kalisisa, it's all hips because of his karate. There's a lot of hips.
Oh, that's the whole thing with Brandon.
There's a lot of hips in his movement because with me, because of my fencing background, I use a lot of point work. You see, Master Tony Diego, to me, he was the most prettiest. His flow, the way he moves, it was beautiful, but still effective. But if you look at Tatang, he's kind of like stoppy jerky, whereas Tony Diego made it look a lot nicer. Not fancy, but it's just more beautiful. If you watch him move, he moved beautifully. You see, so all of us have got our influences. It's Master Romy's right. It depends on our background.
Yeah, like I mean, Edgar obviously had the compo PTK. You know, blunt weapon.
Because the combinations of and now Edgar's system was the best to teach en masse. Yeah, that's easy to teach in a class. That's easy to teach in a seminar.
Okay. Wow. But here's the thing though. But again, so we're bringing out truth and all that. So it sounds like, evolution, or lack of a better way to put it, might not been the best thing as far as maybe what we're seeing today. If we
In
comparatively
preserving the art,
speaking,
no, but in spreading the word, yes. I mean, like I say, I can only teach 1-on-1, 2-on-1, 3-on-1, maybe. But if you look at Master Nazo Arnold, he's propagating the art. Love, in Luneta, look at all the students there.
oh yeah,
It's
no, 100%.
yeah, yeah. But there's compromises in everything we do, right?
Well, it's like this. The evolutions were unconscious.
Mm,
My
yeah.
peers, my contemporaries, were not even aware that they were modifying or they were evolving, reinterpreting the techniques
Oh, they weren't
or
even aware. Okay.
choosing which technique to focus on. Okay, it was a natural thing, a process of the mind. You fall back on what you know best, and you interpret everything through that lens. Uh-huh. They did not have a Rosetta Stone with interpretations of various languages into one single language so that everybody could
Mm,
interpret various languages.
mm,
They did not have that. All they had was a single discipline that they were very good at and through which they interpreted what they saw in Tata. So
Yeah.
eventually, I'm sorry to say this, it was more the name than the actual personality of the techniques or of the system.
Wow. But you guys keep it. Okay, for instance, I know this is a long time ago and all that, but generally speaking, as far as what you can recollect and as far as memory, what were like the base of core defensive movements back then? Like when you guys were first exposed to GM Ilustrisimo, was Crusadas in there? Was it?
it was all in there, but to me, all that was just a variation of bug suck. You see.
No, it was a mindset.
Mm.
People think of martial arts as defense. If you think of defense, if you put yourself in a defensive mode,
You're gonna be
you're
defensive.
one beat behind
Yeah, you're not thinking offense.
and you will
Yeah,
get hit.
true, true.
That's a good point.
So with that, he attacked the attack.
Mm.
He attacked the defense. He attacked the counter defense. So it was attack.
And he's
Mm.
always setting you up. That video on Dos Engaños, that whole video is setting up your opponent.
Yeah, which
So you're
I'm
not a
so
defensive fighter.
looking forward to watching.
Yes, you're aggressive, but you just don't go blindly charging in. What you do is you open them up first, make him think one side, attack the other side, make him think this side, attack the other side. He loves to set up. He loves to set up.
So, so far as the defensive movements, those, in other words, okay, for instance, here's an example: four corners. Okay, so high cruzada, low cruzada, crossing gunting, high cruzada. Was that just made up just for get students acclimated to four corners, or am I mistaken?
Well, the history of four corners is this. Um, there was a time when Hiron came up with his book, and a
Wrong.
foreign student of Tony gifted Tony with the book of Hiron.
Okay.
And in it, in the fan, there was something called the fondo.
Define. Okay.
Fondo meaning the bottom, okay, that you don't move around. And it was a square footwork. Okay? And Tony adopted this and started to reconstruct from the techniques of Tatang what he thought would belong to the fondo format. But there was already the format of the fondo incorporated in the techniques of Tatang. But it was not recognized. And this is the atracada cerrada.
Mm.
Okay, atracada means you go side by side. It's a nautical term. Ships coming shipside. Atraca, meaning atracar, to get attracted to. Okay? And cerrada, meaning very, very close. And this is contained in the atracada cerrada format.
Okay, so I'm reading between the lines here and coming. Okay, okay. So it's
Say
wow.
it. Say it. Say what you're thinking.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's just I don't. It's a little. Well, I don't know if upsetting this correct word. I just, one of the things I'm on this mission is like I want to know what the original material was. I want to know what this guy did. I want to know what made him so unique and special and just so,
See, a big thing is how Westerners learn. That's why it kind of evolved to what it is, especially Americans. If you don't teach Americans the way they want to be taught, they'll reject it.
See,
Take
leave
Edgar
it to the
Selena.
Westerners, man. They'll ruin
Like
anything.
before he went to America, and that's the Lameco I was accredited on. It was totally different to when he got to America. When he got to America, Lameco turned into all these two-man drills. Why?
Yeah.
Because that's how the Yanks want to learn, two-man drills.
No,
I
I
never
can't
did
argue
any of
that.
that with Master Edgar. I never did any of that.
No.
And now you'll find that a lot of the Ilustrisimo have got set foot. This is what you said. The set footworks, and that's the Tony lineage now. They've got the set footworks there. I never did any of that with Master Tony. None of that set pattern.
Here's a question for
here,
both of
you
you.
step here, you step here. There's nothing like that.
No, and it is not the first time I'm hearing this. Yeah, so you guys, this is not the first time I'm hearing this where things took a turn.
I think it's evolved. No, it's not evolving the art. It's evolving so that the audience can understand.
So the
what
audience
you're
and the
trying
people
to say.
paying money.
Whereas with me, I've got the luxury of just one-on-one,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I can just teach it the way
No,
it's
it's
taught to me.
Mark Wiley, I think might have said it the best. It's being made for the masses now, or it started
Correct.
happening. And I don't think he's, when I first. But here's a question for both of you: when GM was still alive, was he seeing these changes, and did he care, or did he
didn't
say
care. He
anything?
didn't care. He didn't
He
care.
didn't care.
He didn't care.
He didn't care.
Yeah,
He didn't care.
So he was seeing it.
exactly. I'll cite an example. It is on video, but I will describe it. Tatang and I were seated. There was Yuli, there was Tony, there was a lot of other people around. And Tatang stood up and showed a technique. Then Yuli stood up and showed the technique with modifications. Then Tony came up and did the technique with more modifications. Okay, either in footwork or in the handwork. And Tatang just stood there, but then when he couldn't stomach it any longer, he stood up again and showed the technique once more. And then these people kept on doing their interpretations, and he didn't care. He's not going to die if you get into a fight and you use the wrong techniques because of your wrong interpretations. He's not the one going to die. It's you who's going to die.
That's yeah.
Wow. So he saw it. I always wondered that. Did he see these changes? And I always wondered, what do you think? Did he?
He didn't care. He didn't care.
He didn't care.
He didn't care.
No, he didn't care because he knew what he knew. But if you want to modify it. He'll just say, "Did you get hit?
What?
No, oh, you did it right. If you got hit, you did it wrong."
Yeah. Did you get hit?
Who was he to argue with you? You were a better person to know what your intentions are.
Wow, that's fast. So he saw it. Okay, and he just showed. I just want to.
You saw it.
Just want to make sure.
After that one single incident, never again.
Never again. No, okay. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any questions here, because.
Yeah, sure.
Ooh, Paulo, Master Ray Floor. Earlier, you commented that when it came to Tatang's death match stories, unlike other GM death match stories, that you know them to be true. My question is, how do you know for sure? Respectfully asking, in line with Dean's comment, of wanting clarity and tactfully asking. So there was evidence, right? Reports, police reports,
Yeah, that's what I was.
documentation. No?
Let me answer that for Raymond.
Sure.
Okay, because I am the older guy.
Okay.
I'm the guy with more exposure
Yeah, that's why you're on here.
to this older person. There were really very few death matches, and they were not set up as death matches. They were simply quarrels with blades or with weapons that wound up with both or one of the participants dying. That's why death was coined as part of the description.
Okay.
What eventually became known as a death match is the juego todo, which means in Spanish, juego means play, todo means full. So it meant full play. But it had rules, very simple rules. You got disarmed, you lost. You got bloodied because you got hit in the noggin, you lost. You gave up because of the pressure from your opponent, you lost.
Mm.
But there are actual incidents in Cebu, for instance, where there was a challenge to duel with the judge signing the document for the duel and also as witness. But there was cheating. Under the sweater, the guy was wearing Spanish armor. And he proclaimed to the guy who was going to be executed that I will give you 36 cuts. The 37th cut will be your death cut. And indeed, he did that. But since there was an agreement for the duel, he did not go to jail.
Mm.
Okay. And in Luzon, there were matches that ended in death, but they were not too well publicized. Except that in 1954, in a cockpit in Tarlac, there was a juego todo because juego todos were held like boxing matches, but they were held in cockpits because the cockpit was better arranged for a juego todo match.
Mm.
Well, one guy got hit on the forehead strong enough. He fell down. His feet trembled and he died. That single death from a juego todo stopped all juego todo matches in the Philippines. Whereas there were between 8 and 10 deaths annually from boxing, from poor refereeing,
Yeah.
because the crowd wanted the boxers to mix it up. And the referee would want to please the crowd, so he would not stop the fight.
So you would not
Unlike
stop
today,
when
where
somebody
it
was
was very
getting
brutal.
100
Okay?
rabbit punches.
Yes. Uh-huh. So there were that between 8 and 10 deaths a year from boxing, and
Mm.
boxing was not outlawed. But the juego
Mm.
todo was outlawed when it was actually a lot safer, and it was just as bloody as a boxing match.
Sure. Okay.
Hmm.
Interesting.
So
Oh.
these are biases. These are biases simply because there was a weapon involved, a light rattan stick.
Right. As opposed to gloves, and you're letting somebody pound on somebody
Yes.
for 5 minutes straight. You know what I mean?
Yes.
What's,
Mhm.
so it sounds like it's been, romanticized and glorified, these death matches. And I have to
Yes.
say, the
Yes.
American culture took it, the
Mm-mm.
Western culture took it, ran with it like many other things. And before you know it,
Exactly.
man, you got stories beyond stories of, yeah. So, um, okay, I want So before I get into Ganyo, my understanding, and I know the Ganyos are important, and all that, the relevance thereof. But should the Ganyo trump being non-telegraphic? In other words, if I'm non-telegraphic and I can get to you simply directly simple, would I bypass the I would bypass the Ganyo? Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean
Well,
that's the most direct way. That's the
All right,
most
because I want to
direct
show
way.
this. I'm going to show this vid, and okay, here we go. And so obviously, um, GM Ray. You're known for your non-tell. Come from the non-tell academy, hitting your anatomy, salt and battery. So here we go. Yes, I want to show this. This is and so folks are watching this again. If you're non-tell, man, it can make your life a lot easier.
I'm going to stand you like this. That's all. I'm going to put you just from here. I'm going to go there. Don't get hit. Like move your leg, parry or head flip. That's exactly what I'm doing. You ready? Go. Okay. Really hard. You ready? Go. No, you were ready. Okay. One more time. You're okay. I did not stop there. You're okay.
Oh, Mark. All right.
Everybody else?
Mark. Come on, Mark. Come on, Mark.
Here we go.
So my point is, regardless of weapon, I can have a big pen in my hand, and so if I'm not,
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, so I want to correlate this to, and we'll get to Engaño, but my thought was that you use the Engaño because maybe their evasions or hand evasions or defense is pretty spectacular or efficient, and now you have to go to Engaño. So both of you, am I on track? Is that correct?
Look, if he's
we got we got GM.
Let me
Okay.
take the lead on this.
You go for it.
I invoke age.
Yeah, no.
Anyway,
Hey,
okay.
we're fine.
It's like this. The engaño is a concept and a principle. And practically all fights have engaño. Whether it's boxing, whether it's knife fighting, whether it's sword fighting, the engaño is always there. Engaño means to enchant. You enchant the object of your love so that she does not see your frailties, okay, so that you can get into her graces, okay. It's the same thing with an opponent. You enchant your opponent with a strike which is slow enough so that he can react to it, and when he reacts to it, you also are able to react and shift your movement so that his arm instead gets hit. But if he does not react properly, you can hit him in the head. That's the full definition or concept of engaño.
Okay.
Now, being able to just come in and strike very fast no longer belongs to that classification of engaño.
Correct.
It is what I call, for lack of a word in the vernacular, timing. Tiempo. In Spanish, tiempo is time.
Tempo. Okay.
In a fencing sense. Timing is a borrowed word from English that he also used because it was applicable. Timingan mo. Do a time on him, which is also a fencing term. Okay? And this is exactly that. So, being able to shift your attack, being able to befuddle your opponent, is he cutting or not? Will he strike me or not? And then you give a slow attack so that he is tempted to hit the arm that delivers the attack. Then you shift the arm so that it hits him instead. Instead of him being able to hit your arm, you are able to hit his arm because you have deviated. And this is the basic engaño. And the engaño can be done with footwork, can be done with handwork, or a combination of both. That is the main concept of engaño. So, essentially, all fencing, all sword fighting is engaño. Because who was it that defined sword fighting? As a conversation between two liars. The two liars are telling each other stories, none of which are true,
The two,
and they're trying to make each other believe
It's very good.
what they're delivering. So the engaño is exactly that, a feint. You make your opponent believe that it is true, that your intention is true,
right, which you absolutely did very well.
Sure.
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you change it.
Wow, 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 wow.
It's all deception. It's all deception.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and
But in fencing, especially in saber and in epee, the engaño is always in use.
Yeah.
Unlike with the foil, because you're forced to make your parry before you can make your riposte.
okay,
But
okay.
with the saber and with the epee, you are going at various points,
Mm.
changing your directions of strike.
So, did he favor? So, would he just go non-tell at times if he saw the opening, or was it kind of a mixture of both, as far as exploiting
Both.
whoever's in
It's
front of him?
it's whatever's there to be hit. If it's there to be hit, you hit it. If you can't hit it, you open up something with engaño so you can hit it.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Again, just want to make sure I'm not missing any questions here. Ooh, Steve Brody always says a telegraph can be the beginning of an engaño, but a non-telegraphic strike can also be an invitation that is deceptive. Wow. Yeah,
It's
that
all,
was a good analogy.
and you know, and with engaño and all that, it's timing. It doesn't mean engaño. It doesn't mean you have to go quick all the time. In fact, if you go quick all the time, it will fail. Your engaño will fail because what you need to do is synchronize your attack to his timing. There's many times when I will show a move to my students, say fake here, go there, and it doesn't work. And why it doesn't work is they move too fast. They'll just go boom, boom. They'll just go boom, boom. You need to fake, wait till the opponent reacts, then do it.
So element of patience, then. Okay.
Measure and timing. That it's all. And if you're too close, your engaño will get tangled up. If you're too far, your engaño won't look convincing and it won't hit the target. So a lot of this, the secret sauce is the timing. If you're moving slow, I've got to move slow. If you're moving fast, I've got to move fast.
Okay, okay.
My timing dictates on how you react. That's the hard part about it. Hence why you can't teach it in a seminar or en masse.
Yeah, how would you teach that in a seminar format?
No, I see when I feed it, I'll feed it so that you can get the gist of the timing. Then we can go more real speed.
That would be tough. Here we got a question that just came in from. Okay, so Monromi, if you want to take a crack at this first, Jim, do you think the general mental agility exercises, in other words, practices that work our brain, transfers over to the ability to be really good at a ganyo, for example, ping pong? So that's, and this is coming from Paulo.
I didn't quite get that. How is it again?
Yeah. So his question is, do you think the general mental agility exercises, in other words, practices that work our brain, transfers over into the ability to be really good at a ganyo? For example, he's using it as an example, like ping pong, for instance.
Yes, yes, it is. It is mental agility, which is also physical agility. Because your brain might be fast, but if you're a paraplegic, then you can't do nothing.
I always say with
Yeah,
Ilustrisimo inspiring, it's like chess done in a split second.
yep.
Yeah.
The main issue is this. We get raised on movies where the swordplay takes about 5-10 minutes.
Mm.
Sometimes 15 minutes they go up and down the castle stairs and
Yeah,
the
the
tower,
Yeah.
mountainside.
all over the place. Tang, 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 tang. a fight, a real fight, a real sword fight is over. Tak, 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 it's done.
Mm.
When I measured it, because I trained a few people who entered competitions, and when they won, I measured with there used to be a way to measure the time on the
Mm,
screen, and they were at best able to execute their techniques in zero point 0.2 or zero point 0.3 of a second.
Mm.
Papa, it's done,
interesting.
finished.
Wow.
Okay, you
Good.
go.
Because
Okay,
of the
but
training, right?
in the minds of people, it is ding dong, ding dong, ding ding dong.
Mm.
Okay, it doesn't happen in real life.
Mm.
If it took that long, one is dead, one is alive, or both are running away from each other and resetting.
Mm.
In a real fight, bang, it's done, it's finished. One man goes down, one man is going down. Another guy, the other guy is going down. Okay, there's
To
too much
me,
imagination involved in this. I'll relate you a story,
Sure.
a training story in fencing. Uh, Raymond,
Mm.
one of the first exercises is to hold your glove aloft in a lunge.
Mm.
Then you go back, and then you come back in another
Mm.
lunge and catch the glove as it is falling down.
Mm.
At the beginning, you won't be able to catch it. And
Mm.
then later on, you're catching it at knee high, and eventually you're catching it at waist high. And
Mm.
that's the kind of speed that you need, the kind of agility that you need.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
it is exactly that kind of speed and agility that is developed in Ilustrisimo.
Mm. Exactly. No, exactly. I always say my student says, "Oh, how can I develop more in illustration? How can I develop more in what you do?" I always tell them, take up fencing, either foil,
Mm.
saber, or epee. It just develops the attributes, distance, timing, explosiveness. There's a lot of fakes in fencing, a lot of fakes.
Mm.
And you got to, and you have to move efficiently because any wide movements, that point work will get through your defense. So if you want to me, if you want to be good at weapons, take up Olympic fencing.
So keep
It really
training.
develops the attributes. It really develops the attributes.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but. I mean, as far as that. Wow. We got to wait. Let me just want to make sure I'm not missing any questions. Oh, okay. We got one from Leon. Mong Romy, can you speak more on the proper pressure applied to students to help them learn the appropriate response?
Uh, it's like this.
I got my way.
Once you teach them principles of efficiency, of movement, okay, then you stop that drill, that feeding drill, which is slow, which allows him to do the appropriate movements.
Mm.
Then you now attack him, literally with the intent of hitting him. That's why he's got to wear armor. And that's why you've got to use steel, so that he is scared. Okay? And then you go and attack him. You make sure that you hit him. Do not cut away from outside of him. Don't don't make your attacks short of him. He must be hit. His head has to go back.
Yeah.
Okay? And when you hit him on the side, then it was hurt. Anyway, he's wearing armor.
Yeah.
Okay? That way he develops reaction. That way he develops the ability to predict that you are going to attack. Okay? That way you develop speed. But other than that, if you are doing cooperative drills where he's making sure that he's able to catch your cut, and you're making sure that he can catch your strike because you're doing it slowly and very openly, then you're learning a dance form,
Which
not a fighting form.
leads into my next segue, which you helped me do, into my next questions, which is KI getting lost due to not just the word or drills as a tool for teaching, but the way and the complacency of present drills? Are we getting lost?
Yes.
I think so. For the sole purpose, it teaches the wrong measure, the wrong distance, and the wrong timing. Timing in Ilustrisimo is also broken rhythm. It's not flowy. It's it's choppy. Start, stop, start, stop. You know, it's if you look at Tata move, it's like it's not one flow. It's like start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, and that's the broken rhythm. You know, it's like a beginner. You know, when a beginner throws a punch, you'd swear that his punch stops in midair and then continues. Hence, it stuffs up your block because you're blocking. You know, you see this. You see this punch coming, you block it, but it stops and it continues to get hit. But that's what you want to do. You see, you want to break the rhythm, you want to break the timing, you want to break the distance. Drills don't do that. It teaches the total opposite. You see.
Especially if they're on the complacent side too, where there's no consequence.
Exactly that. Exactly that.
Romeo, what say you on this?
There's got to be a consequence for mistakes. Okay. And if you're grading, then it's right minus wrong.
Yeah.
See? So if he makes 5 mistakes out of 10, so 10 minus 5, 5 right and 5 wrong equals 0. So you've got to make him do it again.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have the mental fortitude to continue practicing when he is exhausted, then you won't get any product. I once was a student of the late great Johnny Chuten, Kung Fu, Tai Chi master. And we used to spar in the clinic of Dr. Lengson. Dr. Lengson was a dentist. Okay, and we would move all of the equipment aside and we would spar there. And when we were sparring, we would be made to spar until we couldn't move anymore. Where you're humped over and trying to catch your breath and trying to unknot your muscles because they're starting to bundle up and cramp. And if you didn't move, he'd kick you. Get up. So you got up and then you fought again. And some of us would be throwing out in the corner. And when everything was done, he would be the one to spar you. Pak, 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 pak. Just to make sure that you brought out everything that you had.
Wow.
You produced everything that you had out of you. You produced something out of nothing eventually. But that's how to develop the spirit of the student.
Yeah, sparring is the way. With me, the moment you start, you put a helmet on. Even complete beginners. My advanced guys, the entire hour is sparring. And of course, there's corrections there, there's coaching there, but it's all under full contact.
You know, here's something else too, like what I'm seeing with the feeding, and this is something that I've noticed and just chosen, I guess, not to say anything. Nothing's challenged. And for example, okay, you give me a shoulder here, I go into Australia, but there's no challenge. What if I'm coming like this and I change the line, and because you presented your block, now I took your fingers? But I don't see that. I don't see that challenging. I mean, unless they're doing behind closed doors. I'm only making an observation based on what I'm witnessing and seeing via social media. But I have to say, if you're seeing in social media, I highly doubt behind the garage doors, so to speak, this is where we do it. I tend not to believe that. So why am I not seeing lines being challenged?
It's hard to teach. It's hard to teach en masse. I do that all the time. When I feed, my students are ready for the engaño. It's not just feed there. I feed there, then I change there. So I feed there, I change levels, which means when they have to execute a block, they can't go out like that. The moment you do that as a block, I'm going to hit you. Whereas if you do a block close and I do an engaño, you can actually
recover your center.
Exactly. A lot of the head strikes, I don't block like that. The head strikes is if the blow's coming this way, I get them to do that. If the blow's coming this way, I get them to do that. You notice the stick doesn't move, but I hide my head behind my stick. I hide my hand behind the stick, you see. Because if you feed here and I mistakenly misread it and I move this way, you still have this as your secondary to recover from an engaño. Whereas if I move this way first and I engaño, it's too late. You can't recover. So basically, you hide your head. But if you went the wrong way here and the blow's coming here, I can do this secondary. It's just a minor thing, but when you're sparring, it's a lifesaver.
Yeah, I just don't like. I don't see it like, and I understand maybe in the beginning you're getting them to do the the proper form of the block or the defensive movement. I get it, but if they're just staying in that lane and it's kind of recycling like a semi line, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just think it, like you said, when the Ngannou comes.
When you move, see, when I spar, when my students hit me, I wait till the last moment till I do the defense. I don't reach out. See, a lot of people do that, and what you do to do your sparring in super slow motion, you find that I'll strike at my student, and even halfway, they'll do this. No, it has to be the strike comes in, it comes in, it comes in, it comes in, then they move. Try sparring slow motion. You'll
Yeah, no, I
find
won't.
everybody's reaching out. The
Yeah,
moment
right.
you
They want
reach
to leave.
out, you fall
You're
for
just
the
giving
engaño.
target practice when you're starting to reach out with your defensive movements. I mean, you're just,
Yeah, and that's what drills do. Because if
no,
we
no,
do
you're right,
the
and
box
I'm
drills,
with you
I have
guys.
to reach out. I have to
I'm just
reach out.
wondering why it's so prevalent. I guess, and I guess my guess would be easier to teach. GM Romy, are we on the right track?
This may be more with the character of the Filipino. You feed a Filipino student, okay? And if you are within measure and your cut is really designed so that it will hit him, if he makes a mistake and is not able to block, okay, and I say that with derisiveness, if he is not able to block and he gets hit, he takes it as an insult that you intended to humiliate him by hitting him. Then it degenerates into a fight.
Oh,
So that eventually, what these people, well intended as they are, learn how to keep the show going, and they will strike at a distance where even at full stretch it will never hit. And they strike outside of the body so that there is a very clear show. I do not intend to hurt you. We are just going through the motions. But this is very old.
I
It
see.
actually goes back to Hispanic times.
Wow, 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 wow. But
This is how the teaching was done. You stand so that at full extension your points are 3 feet apart. Then the maestro says, "I will deliver a number one, pa, and you will deliver a counter to this number one the way that I taught you." So what is counter number one to number one? Okay, what is counter number two to number one, etc., etc.
Mm,
And he drills you this way. If he's satisfied that your reaction is fast enough that it could have taken his strike even if you were within reach, then slowly you are moved closer and closer and closer together until you are really able to parry in time. But this takes time, this takes patience. But it also takes dedication because you do the exercises hundreds of times.
mm.
Okay? And it engenders a very great respect for the teacher. But it is one on one.
One-on-one, right. The emphasis on
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Mhm.
What wow. What but for instance though, I mean, Ilustrisimo, he didn't care. Like he was changed. Like he did that to you guys, right? He didn't care. He
No,
was
he didn't care. No.
he was. I mean, you were there
No,
to
he
get
didn't
hit.
care.
I mean,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Uh, if,
I mean,
if, if you were so foolish as to allow yourself to get hit, then
that's
you
right.
took the
Right. He's like, well, move your
Yeah, that's
hand.
your problem. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Why are you getting hit? It's not, you
Yeah,
didn't move.
exactly. Actual fact, if you see Tony and Tatang, Master Tony and Tatang, when Tony feeds, he doesn't look at Tatang straight on. He'll do this because there's so many times that Tatang's poked Tony's eyes, so he doesn't feed front on. He'll feed and he
yeah.
uses peripheral vision to look at him because he's been hit on the eyes too much.
Or he would flick Tony in the eyes. Pa!
Yeah, he'll flick him.
Oh, the back. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
the back.
Even Topher.
Yeah.
Even
There's a film where
man.
Tifa got hit in the eyes. There's a video clip on that.
Yes. So I got another question in GMs. Okay, it seems to me that the truth in KI journey means making a lot of mistakes, elevating the level of challenges so that we continue to seek our points of failure. Yeah, I agree to that, but not all sanctions are obviously doing this. So that's a question for you guys. Would you agree?
Number one, there are physical rules of movement that are followed by the movements of Tatang. He doesn't explain them, but if you know your physics, you know your geometry, you can understand what's happening. And he does not deviate from those. They happen again and again and again. So instead of reinventing the movement in your mind, copy it.
Mm.
Derive the physics lesson from it.
Mm.
It's very simple. You go through high school, you know your physics, you know your geometry, and it's all very well exemplified.
And a lot of it's efficiency as well. When you block close. The moment you move wide, you open yourself up.
No, look at
See?
the gap you got to recover on. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
you're giving them targets. Whereas if you're here, notice I'm just turning the body. I'm not even
Yeah, right.
moving
You got
my
it still
hand.
in front of you. You're just adjusting. No, yeah.
Yeah, it's just efficiency. If you're not
Yeah.
efficient, you open yourself up.
Yeah, we got another comment. Cookie. Many want to learn how to fight, but few are willing to get hit. Yeah, not in the muck though. Okay. So here I got a question for you. Not just and now I want to show a vid. I want to make a contrast between measure and memorization patterns with a GM Romeo. I have a question regarding. Oh, excuse me. With Cadena here. Oh, my daughter's cat almost got eaten by the dogs. The drama,
intervention. You got an intervention.
the drama for the. This is a little offbeat, but I really want to get your guys' opinion on this. Something I don't pull off a lot because of the counter. So when I go to Cadena Real, if I do Cadena Real Abanico, I get blue wormed a lot. Should I do the Cadena Real Tumbada?
Your distance is wrong. If he's blue worming you, your distance is wrong.
But getting off to the side though.
The Cadena Real is a single special technique. It is the opposite of a la contra serrada.
A la contra serrada.
So you cannot mix it up with another technique because the Cadena Real is executed as a single time movement which is complex. Let me explain.
Sure.
As the cut arrives, you take it with the side of your sword and with the side of your hand. Your backhand is against the backhand of your
Of
opponent.
the opponent, correct. Okay.
Your sword is against the flat of the sword of your opponent. Okay? At the moment of contact, you also get his elbow under your left palm, which means you need to step with your left foot forward so that you can insert your left under his elbow.
Okay.
As you do this, your sword goes flat and horizontal into the neck.
Into the neck. So I'm coming here and right, boom. And here's my
Yes,
under his elbow.
yes, but you don't compress.
Don't compress. Okay.
Everything is stretched out.
Okay.
Out. Straight elbows. Yes. No, no, the right elbow must be stretched
You're saying when I'm
because
coming around here to
yes, you're using it in an aikido-like throw. You're levering, but with the arm stretched so that you get power out of it.
got it when
People
I'm coming
believe that they get
through.
power when they are bent. No, there is more power, more leverage when you are stretched.
When I'm stretched out. Correct. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
and
Okay.
that is the Cadena Real.
So
Now, any other additions to that are simply additions. They do not belong to the technique, which is supposed to cut off your opponent's neck. Cadena means to enchain. So you have enchained his sword arm by stretching it with your hand under his elbow, with your sword wrist pulling on it, okay, and with you hitting his neck.
cutting his neck.
That's why
Okay.
I say it's a compound movement in one split second. And
Well, that
there
was
are many
helpful.
techniques of Ilustrisimo which are like this. They are compound movements that happen all at once.
All at once. Okay. Okay. No, thank you for that. That
Think,
was
think
okay.
of
So that
punching
really
through
that's
to his,
straight. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Think of punching through to his throat. So it's just kind of like a punch through. So you punch through and you kind of deflect it.
Okay.
It's not that movement. It's
It's
like
a
one punch.
punch. Got
Yeah,
it. Got it. Got it. Okay. Okay. All
efficiency.
right. That was helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, efficiency.
Okay. So I want to show this video. All right. And I got it right here. Okay. Actually.
Scalp? Scalp?
So so what was that? The first one you did? You're kind of coming like straight up, oh, very thin. What's that called?
It's a bagsak.
You're just coming up, but you're not coming
Yes.
down. You went up. Okay, up to down, of
Ah,
course.
no, wait. Let me correct myself. That
But
looks like
goes both
a
ways.
media fraile.
Media to bottom. Okay, okay, all right.
You flip up your sword so that it hits the other sword at an angle so that it gets thrown out of line. Then you come down.
Offline and then down. Okay, okay.
Actually, I want to explain that video. If you
Sure.
notice, my left hand is left hanging at my side because I was trying to show the movements of the sword and of the sword hand, the mechanics of it. Because there is a need of the Western mind for a breakdown of elements and then they will be recombined later. The actual movement should have been my left would always come in and entangle the elbow or the shoulder or the forearm while I'm cutting at him.
Mm,
Okay, so this video was a simplification. It was a breakdown into elements. But as I said, many techniques of Ilustrisimo, in fact, practically all techniques of Ilustrisimo, are compound movements. But it is difficult for the mind of people today to understand the complex movement, the compound movement. So we need to break it down. And
mm,
that's exactly what I did there. I was explaining the mechanics of sword on sword,
on the sword. Okay.
how you're striking the sword of your opponent, brings it out of line, makes him lose control over it. So it is the sword mechanics that I was trying to emphasize.
Okay.
Mm.
No, it was enjoyable. And so okay, so with that, how so when you came to Australia there, when you were teaching GM Ray's group there and what have you, your focus though was on in the instruction of measure, what have you, and all that. And did you so how did that go against with the students and all that?
Mm, that first time, not really well received or understood. However, there was a second trip
Mhm.
where Raymond really wanted me to show his students the full range of Ilustrisimo.
Mm,
Took us how many days, Raymond? A week or something?
Yeah, about 7 days. See,
Yeah.
I mean, the story behind that is I had students. Grandmaster Tatang gave me permission to accredit instructors myself, but I've had students for decades, and I was thinking, well, you know what? There's only 2 living masters left in Ilustrisimo, and be a great opportunity for Master Romeo to visit Australia. So what I wanted him to do was come here for a week or two. I think he was here for a week and a half,
mm,
and I was just going to leave him my student and say, look, they're ready for a Colors Illustrissimo instructorship. You spend a week with them going through everything. Now, if you think they're not good enough, fail them, okay? But if you think
okay.
they're good enough, then we'll give them the instructor certificate. And which he does. It was really intensive. We started like 8 a.m. in the morning, finished at 5, then had dinner or barbecue, then went a bit more. It was just really intense. But in the end, they passed. Like I didn't want any influence at all.
Mm,
I just said,
mm,
look, this is what I taught them. Pass or fail them. And no,
mm.
it was a fantastic week, and I want to do it again. By the way, I know you're not traveling, but I want to do it again.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's
And you
fun. 'Cause
can come over, Dean. You can come over with us.
You guys are not that far away, right? I mean,
No.
yeah, right. Okay. Far as future, what do you guys foresee in KI far as the future? Like, what do you see? Each question for both of you.
My point of view,
Sure.
I'm taking the line of Tatang. I don't really care because it's just politics. I do what I do,
Mm,
okay, and I'm happy to do what I do. If there's groups there, factions that do other thing different, I have no say in that. I have no control in that. So I know what I know. I know what I'm teaching. I'm happy that I'll protect Master Romy for anybody who challenges him or anything like that. I'll be his sword. But other than that, I know what I know, and I'm happy. Okay.
so, do you see the future? So, do you see a positive future ahead for KI?
A
Well,
milk down version of KI, maybe. So, I mean,
uh,
yeah, you look at the way Tatang moves to the way people moves now. Would you say it's the same?
No, absolutely
Yeah.
not. I think from when I'm more and more I'm learning with conversation with you guys, what I'm seeing from GM Yuli in the pure contextual KI lane, not Bahasabu. And then I look at I'm seeing like two different worlds.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or indifferent, but I'm seeing two different worlds. You know what I mean?
There is, but that's the way it's going. I have no influence over it except in my little realm, and I'm happy.
Mm. How about you, GM Romy?
Me, I determined very early on that there was no sense in teaching too many people. They will always reinvent,
Reinvent.
even when they are unable to test it
Oh, they'll tend to
in
reinvent when they
in
can't
real life.
test. Interesting. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So I taught only very few, really attended to very few. Raymond, JJ Hervas,
JJ.
Stephen, and there were others in between who started to distort,
Mm.
reinterpret. I said, what right do you have? Have you been in a sword fight? If you've not been in a sword fight, why are you reinterpreting? You're learning something that has been tested over time with real lives.
Mm.
I kick them out.
Hmm.
Right now, I have a few secondary students, but because of the lockdowns, we've not been able to see each
Yeah.
other. And there's always this influence of creativity.
Creativity. Yeah.
Too much,
Self.
too much imagination, too much intelligence, very little practical sense. Perhaps because the culture is different now. Okay, although here in the Philippines, you fly 1 hour out of Manila, and the culture is probably back to when I was a young boy.
Mm.
Mhm.
I
But
find a lot of people are cashing in on the KI name as well. Like, I'm a
yeah,
KI instructor. I'm a KI. This is
Yeah.
like,
I mean, it's definitely obviously growing since obviously your guys' time. I mean, I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent.
yeah,
You
but
know.
it's just the way it is, isn't it?
if I may make an aside,
Sure.
I once chanced upon a post in your FMA discussion. I think they are called Biagtan, uh, an offshoot of a Cinco Terros group. I
Cinco.
saw the movements and they're respectable. I don't know how deep their knowledge is, but it looks to me like an Ilocano type of sword play.
Mm.
Biagtan, and it's respectable. I hope that they have more of it. Another that I would like to bring to your attention is Paete. The Paete Arnis Club
Paete.
has
Okay.
has spent its time preserving old arnis from about the time that the Spaniards brought it into that small town,
Mm.
about the 1700s or even earlier. Okay, using the saber and the briquette, the short saber, and uh, and also long dueling swords, but not too much of that. It's basically the briquette,
Okay.
and they have very elaborate and detailed knowledge of measure and dueling approaches.
Paete. Okay.
Okay. Someone should really go and study it. I tried to promote them, but after the lockdowns, I didn't want to risk myself anymore to
Yeah.
go there. But they're very close friends.
Okay. No. Well.
You might be interested in getting in touch with them because I
Yeah.
know your mission is to bring authentic arnis.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So I think these two that I mentioned, the first one I'm not too sure, but it looked like.
Cinco Terros. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then Paete.
And
Who?
then the Paete Arnis.
Who's the contact person?
Anthony, ¿cómo se llama? Okay, I'll send you the full name of person that can be contacted for that.
Okay, thank
Their
you.
head is Doy Baldemor, Reynaldo Doy Baldemor. Okay, you should see them. I was impressed.
Reynaldo. Okay. Yeah.
I was impressed. The first time I saw them, I was impressed.
Okay. Yeah. So what future, future caretakers of the system, what are your, if you guys like could make suggestions in regards to the preservation of KI, like what would your suggestions be?
I don't know.
For me, I'll go first. The action that I have taken was to ensure that my most senior student, uh, which is Raymond, is well on his way. Okay. Next after Raymond would be JJ Hervas. He's about a year or two behind. So he's been with me for 30 plus years also.
Oh, wow, I didn't
And
realize that long. JJ?
yes, and
Getting old. We're getting old.
getting old. And
I'm turning 60
he's
next
very
year. Can you imagine
dedicated.
that?
Yeah. He's in California and he has a small group and he teaches them very severely, if I can use that word.
Okay.
And then here in Manila, I have effectively a nephew, uh-huh, Stephen Kokehieng.
Yeah.
And I'm entrusting him. I made him the junior archivist of the system.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's the
Very,
next in
very
line. Yeah.
dedicated. Okay.
Okay.
And after him, there would be a couple that are trying their best, along with Elric, who are
Elric.
trying to understand the details and the mechanics of Ilustrisimo.
You can't go wrong with having Elric under you, man.
Yeah, he's good. He's done good. He's done good.
Yes. So basically that, and then there's Sean Zirger, who's trying to catch up. Mhm. But to deprogram the mind from previous training and information, which is very similar, is a major hurdle.
Hmm.
And anyone who wants to go and learn Ilustrisimo, as they say, empty your cup in a metaphorical way, meaning empty your brain. But how do you do that? Well, there are ways to do it. Uh, there's a Silva mind control method where you have pictures of your old self and your new self. That's what you want to be. You make this picture smaller and recede into the background. You replace it with the new self and make the new self larger in your imagination, and then you review all of the new information so that it keeps getting stronger. The neural pathways for the new information become thick and eventually thicker than the neural pathways of the old information. That's
Interesting. Oh, wow.
already available, but very few people know how to use it,
Yeah.
or very few people are dedicated enough. Because I'm sorry to say, our niche is presently, to borrow a term from GM Thompson, it's exercise and entertainment.
Hmm.
Okay, very few can become obsessed with it. And for
I've kind
me,
of gotten obsessed with KI. I don't know if that's healthy or not healthy, but the fact that I have you guys on twice, the fact that I'm picking up every source to train with, and all that, man.
See, with my guys, all my guys get along together. If there's any politics with my guys, I throw them both out. If one's fighting with the other, I don't throw one out. I throw both out. That means they have to get along, okay? But each of my guys has a detailed piece of the puzzle because not everyone can remember everything. And all my guys, especially like one guy loves the knives, the one guy loves the sticks, one guy loves the machete, but every single one of them know details of specific things. So when I die, they have to get together because each of them have a piece of the puzzle,
Oh,
and
how
they can
clever.
work out the
Okay.
entire system with all of them. See, that's how I'm doing it.
Oh, that's
So
clever.
I don't put my eggs in one basket.
I like that.
Yeah, they have to get along, and they're nice people. You don't get in front of me if you're not a nice person. If I don't think you're a nice person, you don't step into my garage.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, why would you want them, right? You're not gonna find better people, right? That you want to
See,
represent
my
you.
problem is I'm not motivated by money. If I was motivated by money, I'll just take any student, you see. But I'm really picky. I'm really picky.
Yes. Well, we
I'm
know
probably
the
worse than
thing.
Romy.
Yeah. I mean,
Me, I spend money on my students.
Yeah.
yeah.
They come before lunch, I feed them lunch.
Mm.
They
Yeah, I
stay
know,
on until dinner, I feed them dinner.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
and
nice of
you get some students with disappointments. I can name one from Mangromi, but it's the risk you take. But I love all my guys. I love all my guys.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what it should
and
be.
I trust my life with my students, and
Wow,
that's what I
wow.
like. You see.
What do you, for folks, like myself, who really want historical truth, want to see like quote unquote the old ways, being preserved. Like, what do you say to folks like me? Is it just too far gone? Is it or just keep pounding away at it?
No. If you spend a few days with me, I can show you anything you want. It's not a hard system. It's not a difficult system. You just need to. It's just a mindset. You know.
More than mine.
I can take any Filipino system and make it look like Caldas Ilustrisimo because it's just certain principles that you follow. And I think you've got the gist of it anyway, Dean. I think you've got the gist of it.
Yeah, but I'm my worst critic. I'm constantly looking to self-improve. I'm just refined.
Hey, that's the best way. That's the best way.
Just
I'm still
driven,
trying to
driven,
improve my
driven.
basics. I'm still trying to improve. See, the thing is with old age, I'm not as fast and as explosive as I used to be. Hence, there's got to be an evolution, and you kind of cheat more. You're more deceptive, and you compensate for the lack of speed.
Yeah, we start to lose
Compensate for the
physically.
lack of explosiveness, and that's what I love about Illustrissimo. You can evolve with it as you're getting old. I mean, look at Tata. How old was he? He was still effective. I met him in his mid-80s, and he was, to me, at his peak.
Wow. Yeah, highly. Yeah, I would love to. I checked the flights to Australia, and they were scary.
Expensive.
Yeah, they were four digits scary.
Yeah.
And the
Hence
first
why I can't go
number
to the US, because it goes
started
back.
with a 2.
Well, if Mangrome ever ends up in Australia,
Oh my
again,
God, that would be
you will
great.
have to come.
That's what I mean. Like I get 2 birds with 1 stone. You know what I mean? That would be that would
Exactly.
be
And
phenomenal.
it's fun because
My
we eat
kids
well
will
too.
no longer allow me.
He will no longer allow you?
My kids will no longer allow me to travel.
Oh, they don't want you to travel.
There's
I'm
ways
handcuffed.
around that. There's ways around it. There's ways around it.
Oh my God, you gotta get creative, GM Ray. You're gonna have to get creative with the kids there. You're gonna have to make
I
it
know
like
it's simple. You just pay the airfare for one of the kids to come with him. That's how I
You
got
did that
around it last
twice.
time.
make it a family affair, right?
Absolutely. He's well looked after here.
So, any GM Romy, any final thoughts from you regarding KI or what you would like to maybe see or anything related?
Actually, mine is a preservation project. I am not out to gain numbers. I am out to gain a few quality people who will see the sense in preserving an old system of fighting, proven fighting, and that's it.
Mm.
I am not out to have hordes of people claim, "Oh, I am Ilustrisimo. I learned under Mang Romy." No, I have only a very very simple aspiration. I have a handful of people that I trust. Okay, and that's enough. If they believe that they want to continue and keep it alive and keep it within the accuracy that has been described, then sige, go on.
Yeah, that's
If
good.
not,
Yeah.
then maybe it will be rediscovered in another 400 years, like the HEMA documents.
Mm.
Mm.
Okay.
But that's not my Atman project anymore.
Okay. Well, your
That's
book and
good.
what you're doing historically has been it's been wonderful and receiving great accolades. I mean, so clearly people are happy what you doing and accomplished thus far. So, um,
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think quality of people rather than quantity. I mean, I've got G Choi in the USA. He came over for a few days and he knows the principles. He's doing well there.
where's he out of, Jim?
Uh, G Choi, I actually don't know.
Oh, he's on here.
I don't
Gee,
know where he is.
where do you live
I
in the
think it's
States?
somewhere north.
Is it?
Huh.
Yeah. Is it Washington? No, Washington. I don't. I hope he look. I hope he chimes into the comments. Gee,
Oh, Washington,
go to the
Uh,
comments.
West Coast.
yeah, up north, Washington, something.
Yeah,
Washington. Yeah, I think so. I think so.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's up by far upper West Coast near
Yeah.
Seattle.
In Australia, especially Victoria, you got Ray Galea, you got Paul Veldman, you got Craig Donaldson, you got Aaron Ireland, all those just very well represented. So I'm
Yeah.
happy with that. Yeah.
And very decent people. Great.
Yeah, no. I mean,
Very
Ray,
good.
his student Ray there seems really nice. John,
he's
John.
he's full on. He's one of my students that's actually used what I've taught in the street. It's funny. There was a road rage incident, and this muscle guy started banging on his car and walked around trying to take his 3-year-old girl out of the car, which he locked. Of course, Ray had enough of that. So when he went around again, Ray jumped out of the car with a rattan stick. The guy made a jump for him, so he cracked him in the kneecap. He went down, cracked him in the collarbone, broke his collarbone, and then he drove away. So he's one of the few guys that's actually used it on the street. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it was warranted. Jeez. I mean, wow.
Yeah, but there's
Um,
plenty. I mean, there's like Canberra. There's remember Major Travis Foray. If it wasn't for him, my career'd go down. He's the one that got me into the military, the Australian military and stuff. So
who was that? I'm sorry. Who was that?
Major Travis Foray in Canberra. He was the one responsible for me getting contracts with the Australian military in
Oh, okay.
2003, and that's what launched my career really.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So
And he has field experience.
yeah, absolutely. And he's a really nice guy. He's a really nice. But all my guys are nice. Okay.
No. I mean, the students,
All my guys.
all your students that I've had interactions with have all been very pleasant with me. John. what's his last-
John Intervallo. He was my right hand man.
John.
for
Yeah, he's always been
decades.
very
Problem
nice.
is, he had a kid.
Yeah,
No more
Ray.
time. His priorities changed. But again, he's probably he moves the closest to me. In
John?
fact, I was watching a sparring match between the two. I'm thinking, when did I fight this guy? And I realized it was right-handed. Oh, that's John Intervallo. That was me.
Well, so you taught him well. So I mean, yeah, but everybody I've talked to, your students, all been very, very, very nice. Helpful. And so.
Well,
But,
unless you troll me,
unless, no.
I can
No,
think
no.
of one person. I haven't mentioned his name, but we're good now. We're good now.
Oh, I think I know who you might be referencing.
Yeah. No, we're good. We're good. We're good. Respect for him. Respect.
Yes. Which is good. I mean,
Which is good. Which is good. Yeah.
yeah.
I'd
Better
love to. I'd love to
to,
meet up with him. I'd love to meet up with him one day. I think we'd have a lot of fun.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, you guys would be, but wow, close to 2 hours. But again, this is absolutely wonderful. I appreciate you guys
That's all right.
both doing this again. You know, I hope it was painless. So
No. Well, it was the painful part is trying to log on.
hey, but
Look, if we get
hey,
enough questions, we can do a part 3. I don't know. It's up to you guys. I'm good. I'm good.
you don't need to ask me twice on KI. So you guys, you guys tell me what you want. You guys tell me what you want to talk about, and I'll be there. So
Fair enough. Look, we'll leave it to the public. I just ask
hey,
questions.
you know what you
Once we get
do?
enough questions, we'll have
You know what
another
would be
session.
good? GM Romy, is it if we did a part 3, could you get somebody there for demos, do you think?
I doubt it.
Where's Elric when you where's
Elric has a lot of work.
and oh yeah.
Yes, he's
Si
into
Steven.
cinema and stuff like
Mang
that.
Rami, si Steven. Pwede ba?
Stephen, yes, but
Yeah,
that
he's
will
pretty good.
involve me having to manipulate my equipment out into the garage, and we
That's
tried
what
it
you
once, and it wasn't so nice. Anyway, we'll see. We'll find
Yeah,
out.
or
Yeah, I mean,
if Toby Ramos is around, get him to do it.
I'm just thinking, like,
Yeah.
if you grab somebody, if folks could see like demos from you guys, I think folks would really enjoy that. You know,
I can arrange that. I can arrange
Yeah.
that.
I think they would
that's-
really
that's-
enjoy seeing you guys show your
Yeah.
stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know.
And remember, Mang Rami and myself have got detailed online videos at courses.rayfloro.net. There's videos there that they can look into.
Yeah, I bought, and I'm still getting through it, but I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing on all your guys' stuff. I mean, I can't wait to get into the Aganyos. Yeah. So, but again, I thank you both so much for coming on.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you.
Happy to do
Yeah,
it.
Mang Rami, salamat.
Maraming salamat din. Thank you so much also, Raymond.
Thank
Basta
you,
ikaw.
Guru.
Yes, thank you guys. I appreciate it. You guys take care of yourselves.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, gotcha. Wow, that was a great one. Who is next? And I currently not sure. I can tell you who's coming up, but I'm not sure who's really next. There's going to be PTK theme. Another one. We're going to keep kicking that off. Steve Lefebvre. He lives in New Hampshire. Michelle Kuzma coming up. And hopefully to get Jeff Finder on there. He's getting back to me. I want to cover more Kabbalahs. Still haven't forgot about that. And a few other folks and all that. I'm just waiting to hear back from them. But it'll be interesting nonetheless. I can guarantee that. So, yes. And folks that have jumped in, watched, commented, submitted questions, appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you guys next time. And if you haven't already, please hit and like, subscribe to FMA Discussion on YouTube, where all our monies goes to charity. You'll be helping us help others. You will be helping others. All right, folks, thank you, and I'll see you next time.